Welcome back to Fine Art Diary. Today we are going to paint this beautiful abstract and we'll see how to create this interesting texture step by step in very easy process. This abstract painting will be textural and that will be the main element. Just to let you know, I have started posting my landscape tutorials and art fundamentals like composition techniques to my brand new channel Fine Art Diary Painting Nature. You can check it and I'm sure it is going to be a value add to your art journey. Now let's see the materials I have used for today's painting. We are going to use a texture paste. You can see the density of it. The viscosity is more than gesso. We are also going to use acrylic gloss medium, some big scrapers to spread the texture paste. This is a banana fiber. Any kind of fiber will work for this. This is woven jute. You can see how beautiful it is woven and I am going to get the impression of it. This jute rope. Sometimes I use this texture paper to get texture. Some palette knives of different sizes, bristle brushes, and of course some fine art pigments. Here I am using the brands Schminke, Sennelier and Citius pigments. Now let's jump into the painting. This is the canvas I am going to use today. The size is 18 by 18 inches. It is stretched on a board. I will start with our texture paste and this is going to be the first layer of the painting. Let's spread the paste throughout the canvas in a very random manner. This is an abstract painting, so I don't have any preconceived form in my mind. My today's approach is a little bit different than my previous tutorials. Today I am preparing the surface to take impressions of some found objects. And that is the reason instead of gesso I am using texture paste. I want to make the surface look organic. Found some weeds in my garden. Anyway, I was about to throw it but thought of using it in my today's painting. Let's place it maybe here are two more. Another found object, the jute rope. Let's place it again randomly. Now the woven jute, let's place it. That's alright. Now a piece of paper, placing it here. Also the banana fiber. You can see I am selecting the objects that have different textures and that will make our painting interesting. Here I have found some beads. And let's see what kind of texture we can achieve by using it. Again, I am spreading it here and there. That's fine. Now it's time to take the impression. Covering the entire surface with a polythene and will press it by hand. But in this case, I will be using a brayer to press it. That's fine. Now let's remove the polythene. I am also going to remove each and every elements I have used one by one. I will let it dry completely and then only will remove the beads. Alright, the surface is completely dry and here are some close-ups. You can see we got some very interesting textures throughout the surface. Now I am taking titanium white, grey and light ultramarine. This you can achieve by mixing white to the ultramarine. Now let's cover the entire canvas by a mixture of these three. Here the intention is to get a base coat. It will barely be seen in our final painting, but whatever I am going to paint on the top of it, it will look mature. Once again, I will let it dry completely before moving to the next step. The surface is touch dry and I am going to use some color pigments now. The first pigment is Caput Mortuum, which is a dark pigment, putting it in some of the areas. Now my second pigment is Prussian Blue. I'll be using it very little amount. The next pigment is Ochre Dunkel. That's alright, now let's add acrylic gloss medium to it, which will act like a binder for the pigments. That's fine, now let's moist the canvas. Now by using a bristle brush, let's spread the pigments all over the surface. This layer will be transparent and all the pigments will be deposited to the groups of the textures, and the texture we created will be exaggerated. Now once again I will let it dry completely before moving to the next step. Alright, the surface is dry and already you can see the textures are looking interesting. Now let's take a polythene sheet and I'm going to paint this with Naples yellow. Now I am going to take the impression of this color. You can see only the peaks of the texture is getting yellow, and that's what I wanted. I will do this process almost for the entire canvas. This is looking interesting. Now let's add some highlights to the peaks, and for that I am going to do exactly the same, but this time the color will be the color we used for the first layer, and that was titanium white, grey and light ultramarine. Let's mix it together and apply it to the canvas. That's alright, now I'm going to exaggerate the groups even more, and for that I'm taking burnt umber, raw umber and paints grey. It is almost a dry brush. I'm pushing the paint inside the grooves. Now immediately I'm taking a cloth and I will wipe off the peaks of the texture. This cloth I keep separately just for this purpose only, but make sure the cloth is properly dry. Now you can see the exaggerated texture. Okay, I have done this step for the entire surface and you can see the surface is looking weathered, and this is what I was trying to achieve. Now let's take yellows. Yellow ochre, cadmium yellow and lemon yellow, and let's exaggerate some of the yellow areas with the help of this sponge. We have to have a conversation with the painting, and the painting itself will tell you what next to do. So whatever I am doing over here is intuitional, and accordingly I am doing. Though sometimes I am analyzing between the steps, but 95% of the thing will come from intuition, and most of the steps will be spontaneous. That's alright. Now let's take a mixture of raw umber, burnt umber and paints grey. We use this darker mixture for the groups, and now let's give some abstract brush strokes. This is going to be the darkest dark of the painting. Now let's moist the canvas to spread it in some areas. Now once again I will let it dry for some time and will move to the next step. Alright, now it is completely dry. Now let's take cobalt teal, and you can see this is a kind of complementary color of our dominant color, that is yellow. I'm going to apply it around the darkest dark. Once again I will moist it and will keep it for drying. Now everything is dry and I will bring back some of the highlights, and for that I am going to use cadmium yellow and titanium white. Let's do the same in this area also. I have masked the darker side of it so that I will be able to paint only the lighter side, and that will create a contrast between the darkest dark and the lightest light. And this particular line will have the maximum contrast of this painting. That's alright. Now I am giving some gentle touches of manganese blue here and there. I'm done with this painting. Now here are some close-ups. You can see how beautiful textures we have got by this process. Soil remembers not as a record, but as a feeling pressed into its membrane, a touch of time, wet with old rains and scattered seeds that never asked to be named. Light once fell here like a whisper through broken clouds, casting long thoughts across dust and cracked histories. Even in silence, the earth was full of listening. There is a reflection, not mirrored but murmured in shadows, a shape of a tree perhaps, or the idea of attainment. The sky leans closer as if to understand what grew here before forgetting, and still from the deep rust, from the soaked turquoise, from the creases of absence, a new light stirs. It does not illuminate, it simply begins. We are done for the day. Hope you enjoyed today's session, and don't forget to subscribe the channel because many more painting video tutorials are coming in future. Thank you so much for watching and happy painting.